Question: what's the IPA? The IPA is the International Phonetic Alphabet. So, back in the late 1800s, some French and British dudes were tired of the inconsistent spelling of French and English. Their original idea was to reform the spelling of the two languages separately, but in 1888 they decided that it would be a better idea to create an international writing system, one that could be used for any language. So they did. I don't want to get too deep into the history of the IPA and all its different revisions here in this video, so I'll summarize. They updated it a bunch of times until they arrived at what we use today in 2005, apparently. Question: so how does it work? The IPA is pretty straightforward. The main goal is to have one distinct character for every phoneme, we'll get into what that is later, used in every language around the world. This means no digraphs like th or sh, and no single letters for more than one sound, like x being x, or c being either k or s. And really quickly, notation. Forward slashes are used for phonemes, square brackets are used for phones, both in broad and narrow transcription, and angle brackets are used for orthography, or the way something is spelled. Don't know what phones and phonemes are? Don't worry, I got you. Alright, it's time to get technical. And by technical, I mean let's make a chart. This is the official IPA chart, or my hand-drawn version of it, and this is, more or less, every known sound used in language. Now, before I get further into this, I need to explain a few terms that are used in linguistics. First, the difference between phones and phonemes. A phone is simply a sound used in language, and that's it, it's that simple. Phonemes, on the other hand, are a bit more complicated. It comes down to what native speakers perceive themselves as saying, regardless of whether they're actually pronouncing it in that way or not. So, for example, in many of dialects of English, we don't distinguish between t and r, and use them in free variation in different contexts. In Japanese, however, these are completely distinct sounds and have completely separate symbols. On the other hand, Japanese lacks both l and r, despite them being completely different sounds to English speakers' ears, so a Japanese brain would often interpret both sounds as r. The concept of contrast is important here too. In English, we don't distinguish between t, and t, whereas languages like Xhosa have contrast between t and d, but not between t and t, and so can easily distinguish between one pair, but not the other. Navajo, on the other hand, has a three-way distinction, and so to them, all three of these sounds are as distinct as k and m are to us. Alright, back to the IPA chart. Let's just start with the different places of articulation, and I'll cover manners of articulation in a different video. This is a mouth, as seen from the side. The 11 main places of articulation are, from back to front, bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, postalveolar, retroflex, palatal, velar, uvular, pharyngeal, and glottal. Bilabial sounds are pronounced bilabially, with both lips. P and b are two very common bilabial sounds. Labiodentals are pronounced with the bottom lip and the top teeth. Sounds like v and f are pretty common labiodentals. The next few sounds are all pronounced with the tip of the tongue. Dentals with the tip of the tongue between, or sometimes just behind the upper teeth. Alveolars with the tongue between the teeth and the alveolar ridge. Postalveolars with the tongue on the alveolar ridge. And retroflex with the tongue just behind the alveolar ridge. Now we have sounds that use the body and back of the tongue rather than the tip. Palatals, where almost the whole tongue goes up to the roof of the mouth. Velars, where just the back of the tongue goes up to the soft palate. And uvulars, where the back of the tongue touches your uvula. Finally, we have pharyngeals and glottals. Pharyngeal consonants are a bit rarer sounds, pronounced with the root of the tongue going to the pharynx or epiglottis. I'm going to be honest, I can't really pronounce these very well, but Arabic has some pretty cool pharyngeal consonants like h and r. Glottals are a bit more common, since h is a glottal sound. The only other glottal sounds are h and and I'll explain why in the next video. Is a sound that English speakers would recognize as the hyphen in uh-oh, or maybe the apostrophe in British. In some English dialects, such as mine, is a syllable final realization of the phoneme t, like in put or sit. And that's it for now. In the next video, I'm going to explain manners of articulation, vowels, and diacritics. Thanks for watching.